The Bible could be coming soon to a school near you. How exciting. In Oklahoma, State Superintendent Ryan Walters has mandated that schools teach the Bible from grades 5 through 12, and he promises to crack down on rogue districts that aren't doing as they're told. So here's what he wants to actually happen. Each teacher is to be given a physical copy of the Bible, the US Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and of course, the 10 Commandments. The Bible is to be integrated within the curriculums of several different subjects, discussing its historical context, its literary significance, and its influence in the arts. When faced with the backlash over the mandate, Walters said this in a post on X. He said the Bible, along with the Constitution and many other documents, are foundational in education. We will not allow rogue districts and administrators to indoctrinate hatred of America by refusing to teach foundational Oklahoma standards. You cannot rewrite history. The left does not like it, but it will be taught. It being the left, I guess. As part of his crackdown, he says that school districts and even teachers who don't comply with the guidelines could have their accreditations and their certifications revoked. But Walters is towing a very thin line here. He can't actually mandate that religion be taught in schools because that is a violation of the First Amendment. So instead, he's arguing that the Bible is a foundational document for the United States and that it would be taught in a more secular way. The guidelines say that teachers should emphasize only its historical, literary, and secular benefits, ensuring compliance with legal standards and precedents, and that the Bible should be used for its historical, literary, and secular value, not for religious purposes such as preaching, proselytizing, or indoctrination. And Walters also clarified, we are not evangelizing to kids. We are making sure our kids understand American history. The Bible didn't happen in America, by the way. All right, there's more, but this is actually really interesting to me because I was raised Muslim. I'm not religious now, but I have read the Bible both as a religious text and as a work of fiction. I have a degree in literature, and I can personally attest to the fact that yes, when studying literature and history and art for that matter, knowledge of the Bible and its stories is extremely helpful and relevant. I actually took a class in college. It was called The Bible as Literature. Shout out to Dr. Ferguson over at U of H. And it was easily one of the best and most interesting college courses I've ever taken. But again, I took it in college and I didn't have to take it. It was elected for me, just like the rest of my literature degree. But even before that, in grade school, the study of religion, not just Christianity, but all kinds of religions in literature, history, and the arts, it just kind of came about naturally as you were studying different things. There was no need for a teacher to have a physical copy of a Bible in their classroom, and it wasn't necessary to mandate that teaching of the Bible. So I get what they're trying to argue, which is troubling because there is some degree of rationality in their explanation, but come on, we know what this really is. And we know that this is just the beginning of what they want to do. We know who these people are and what kind of agendas they're pushing. And we know that the things that they believe in are not widely felt across the United States. So they have to mandate these types of things. We know what kind of America they would like to live in. Waz, what are your thoughts on that?
Hey, don't scroll away. Come back. Because before the video continues, we just want to urge you to lend your support to TYT. You power our honest reporting. You do it at tyt.com/team, and we love you for it.
I don't know why they think this would work in any meaningful way. And also, I'm old enough to remember when these guys used to cry every day about how Sharia law was gonna come and choke our babies in their cribs. And I don't see how this isn't Christian Sharia, okay? Like, I don't see how this is any different than some level of, hyper fundamentalism. Like the idea that these kids need to learn the 10, which is a load of crap, by the way, the 10 Commandments. Like if you really sat and read them, like, oh, you gotta honor your mother, you can't covet your neighbor's wife. Like who's actually listening to that stuff, guys? Come on now. No, but seriously though, I don't think this will work. They will get smoked in the courts the second any parent who is, whether they're Muslim, Jewish, non-religious, challenges these guys in the courts, they're gonna get smoked. This is all just like peacocking for the camera and getting attention for himself.
This is already being challenged in the courts, and it's being challenged by religious people who identify as Christian. It's being challenged by superintendents at various school districts within the state of Oklahoma who do not agree with this and do not feel that educators should be forced to teach religious doctrine of any sort, right? This isn't just about Christianity. It's about ensuring that public funds don't go toward the promotion of religion in a country that's supposed to have a separation of church and state. And so what I found really interesting, I'm always curious when we do these stories from out of state. I want to know how it's being covered in local media. What are people from local communities within Oklahoma saying about this? And there's a lot of pushback from a lot of people, including pastors, who are like, what is this? I mean, okay, if you're going to teach the Bible, so what interpretation of the Bible, right? What form of Christianity? Like there's a bunch of questions about this. Obviously, it's unconstitutional, and obviously, it's an effort to force a specific religion onto the students of these public schools. And it's just, I don't think that it's going to make it through the courts. I think that it's probably going to get struck down, but it does reveal quite a bit about how both sides, in my opinion, are totally full of crap when it comes to avoiding using public schools to push religious beliefs or political beliefs onto kids. So I'll give you an example from, obviously I'm a million times against what's happening in Oklahoma right now. And I do think that in the end, people like us who are against it are gonna win. But then, in some of the more liberal states, I'll give you an example of something that was done that was super damaging, right? Moving away from teaching kids how to read through phonics, because I don't know who came up with this allegation, but phonics is allegedly racist. So they moved away from phonics and reading levels decreased significantly. Okay.
These are the schools JD Vance was talking about that banned Mountain Dew. Like these are the same schools.
No, but in all seriousness, right? Like what I really want to emphasize here is that we got to get back to a place where we teach our kids what they need to learn to thrive and to succeed in life. Okay, we got to teach them the basics. Yes, math, English, all that. But instead of focusing all of our energy on indoctrinating kids in one way or another, how about we bring back music, art, drafting, woodworking, all of these other wonderful elective programs that have been cut from public school systems all across the country that, actually sparked some interest in these students. If they actually wanted to graduate and go toward a vocation or a trade, that was how it happened. They learned about that trade through the electives that they took when they were in high school. Those are being cut left and right. They've been cut left and right. And so I want to go back to just, again, equipping these kids with what they need to thrive in life. And I get so disgusted by these efforts to indoctrinate them. And right now, the right is certainly laser focused on things like voucher programs to pull money out of the public school systems and into private schools that typically tend to be religious private schools. And so that's also happening as these indoctrination strategies are playing out.
Yeah. So to your point, as far as, what the people in Oklahoma feel about this, there is a lot of pushback in Oklahoma itself. And despite what Walters and others like him claim, the real goal here is painfully obvious. It is to shoehorn religious teachings into the secular public education system. Stacy Woolley, the president of the Tulsa School Board, is vocally and publicly against the state mandate, saying that the focus on teaching the Bible as history or literature and not as religion is disingenuous, which is what we've been saying. But Woolley also gets to the real heart of the story here. Republicans love to challenge the judicial system. And during a time when we have an extremely conservative Supreme Court, they're getting quite bold. Woolley said this. She said, "I firmly believe that the intention of the state superintendent of schools is to get separation of church and state in front of the US Supreme Court." And to that, Walters isn't denying anything. He said that if it comes to that, he's confident that he will emerge victorious, saying, quote, "President Trump has laid out that path very clearly to us." And this is what we were all afraid of when we got Trump for the first time, whenever he was in office, we knew that he was going to stack the court in a certain way. And we knew that that stacking of the court was going to have long-term repercussions that we would have to be dealing with long after the Trump presidency was over. So Anna, let's start with you. What do you make of this Republican strategy where they basically are trying to evade having to pass legislation because they know it wouldn't be popular by utilizing the justice system instead?
Well, that has been increasingly the tactic that the right wing's been using. You know, the judicial system is now stacked in the conservative arena, which is unfortunate to say the least. But I will say this. I know that people are going to think I'm naive, but just hear me out. I really don't think the Supreme Court is going to uphold this policy in Oklahoma, because I think they're smart enough to understand that this opens up the floodgates. And it, you know, if you're going to teach the Bible and make this ridiculous argument that it's not really about the religion, it's about, you know, teaching about the historical context or whatever garbage that they're trying to sell, well, you could make the same argument about the Quran. And so, you know, if there's a district with someone more liberal pursuing a similar type of policy just to kind of call, you know, this law's bluff or these politicians' bluff, I just think the Supreme Court is going to know that that's going to open the floodgates. I really don't think that they're going to side with, you know, these policymakers in Oklahoma. The one other thing that I'll say is the Supreme Court, even though it is very conservative, the one thing that's been clear to me is that they're obsessed with being viewed as legitimate. Yep. And they don't want to undermine their own legitimacy by upholding ridiculous laws like the one in Oklahoma. So I actually have faith that they will strike this down should it make its way all the way to the Supreme Court.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.